Yes, I found this body. Yes, it looks like he's been stabbed to death. I am right between the baseball and the softball fields at Northwest Shells campus, below the railroad tracks. Okay, thank you very much. Hurry.
Unit 300 base, send an additional patrol unit and an investigator to this location. First officer's response to a crime scene is very crucial. The first few minutes to the first few hours of the investigation is probably the most crucial leading up to it. The officer has to get there safely. Once he's arrived safely, he has to be aware of a possible suspect who may still be at the scene, identify witnesses, and also check for physical evidence that may be there at the scene. Physical evidence could be left either by the suspect or by the victim or other people that come and go from the crime scene. Going to check for signs of life of the victim. If there is no signs of life, then there is no sense in bringing additional people into the crime scene, such as emergency personnel, paramedics. The crime scene preservation, the officers want to make sure that there's only one way into it and one way out. You don't want additional traffic. You need to eliminate the media, so you want to secure the crime scene with crime scene tape. Try to avoid officers that just wants to come into the crime scene and look around to see what's happening. The less number of officers you have inside the crime scene, the better off you're going to be when it comes to court. Once you're inside, you would try to make determination as to what happened. Look for physical evidence, whether it's a knife or a gun. Could be blunt force trauma in victims. Identify these items, locate them, identify them, and then what you would do later on is to be able to update your investigators that come in, and you could tell them what you've learned so far. The in-depth investigation would be then taken over by the lead investigators in departments. Some small departments, the uniformed officer is the investigator. Bigger departments, you have the advantage that you do have trained investigators or detectives. Once the investigator arrives on the scene, the first responding officer, like I say, brings him up to date as to what happens, tells him what the witness has seen or what position the body was in. You want to make sure that nothing is disturbed from the crime scene. The first responding officer would identify the witnesses to determine what actually happened at the crime scene. Once that is done, make sure that you obtain the addresses, names, phone numbers, so that the follow-up investigators could get in contact with them. You'll also take photographs. You'll take photographs of the overall crime scene. You'll take close-up photographs, and later on take photographs of the body at the funeral home or the morgue. You'll take measurements. And like I say, you take and make sketches, detailed sketches, because when it comes to court, the defense attorneys are going to be very thorough in their investigation. The officer that takes the stand will end up feeling that he is the person that's on trial rather than the defendant. So the better the statements, better the information that you have, the better prepared you are for court. So the first 24 hours of any investigation is perhaps the most crucial investigation period, and most investigations are solved within that period of time. So the more you spend there at the crime scene, the more information you gather, the more benefit it's going to be for you in the future. After the 24-hour period, your leads start cooling off, your evidence starts cooling off, and you're running the risk of not being able to solve a case that could have been solved at the onset. One of the first officers responding, he may be called on by your investigators to do actual searching of a crime scene. Now, the crime scene can be localized either in a room or in an open field. And there's different patterns in which you want to search. You want to search room by room in a house. You don't want to just assume that the assault took place where the victim is found. Once you start at that point, then you work your way out and see if outside of the house, if there is something outside that may be a part of the crime scene. In open fields where the crime scene occurs, you'll need additional personnel. You'll call for backup officers, additional crime scene investigators, and you do grid pattern searches. You would do a radius search where you would start at the central point of the crime scene and work your way out. The grid pattern, the officers would walk in a straight line and continue going forward, and as they advance, then they turn around and have another team sweeping from left to right, wanting to cover as much area as you possibly can in the investigation.